Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of The Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day, guys. He's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, you see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you could click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, going over to the business part podcast, you have a car dealerships. Well, thousands of them were hit with cyber attacks, so they started to use paper once again as the backup. Well, this is thanks to them mostly all using a very similar company, well, exactly the same software company out of Illinois, or as some people call it improperly, Illinois. But nevertheless, this was brought to us thanks to the Associated Press. They say, quote, car dealerships in North America revert to pens and paper after cyber attacks on software provider. Which, yep, not great. So this company is known by CDK Global, which I want to say it's uninspiring, but I'm sure it stands for something moderately interesting. But that's a software company based out of Illinois who provides software for thousands of dealerships. And even the largest dealership, which, yeah, let's just say you don't want to piss them off. Group 1 Automotive. And again, in the United States, you've had more and more dealership consolidation past couple of years. It's very similar to the funeral home industry, where you see many quote unquote independent dealerships. Like around me, one is called Honda McDavid, which again, David McDavid was one of the original founders of that dealership. But throughout the years, that family has nothing to do with that actual dealership. The parent company behind that one is actually headquartered out of Georgia, interestingly enough. And again, this dealership's operating in Illinois. So while they keep the nameplates very similar to the funeral home industry, they're actually owned by a larger parent company. I mean, the other largest ones are AutoNation, and you have Lithia Motors, where your average person has no idea who they are, but most likely they've actually gone to some of their dealerships. And Group 1 Automotive is one of the largest. They're a $4 billion automotive dealerships, and they started to use quote-unquote alternative processes so they could sell cars to their customers. Which, yeah, interesting enough. So you got CDK Global, major player in the auto sales industry, company based just outside of Chicago in Hoffman Estates, Illinois. And yeah, it's not a lot of tech companies out of Illinois. Granted, Hoffman Estates is one of the fanciest, ritzy places in Illinois. Let's just say they probably don't have employees going to downtown Chicago anytime soon. Now, in terms of the intricacies and specifics of what happened in this instance, the CDK noted that, quote, last week we experienced back-to-back cyber attacks. Last Wednesday, the company shut down all of its systems after the first attack out of abundance of caution, according to their spokesperson, Lisa Finney, and then shut down more systems again following the second. So talk about a double whammy. They got hit twice. Finney also said, quote, we have begun the restoration process, unquote, which, again, A+, they had a backup plan, because one of the biggest cliche jokes in IT is, do you have backups? Rudimentary speaking, think of how you used to take your cell phone, connect it to your computer, and copy-paste your photos onto that. Rudimentary speaking, just that on a much larger scale, usually fancier software technologies, but overall the same concept of backing up your data. And most every business says they have backups. However, one of the best questions to ask, and free question if you're in IT sales, they say, oh yeah, we have backups. Perfect. Ask them, when were they tested? Because that's when sometimes the blood will rush out of their face when they realize, oh dear God, we have these backups, supposedly in theory, but we've never actually tested them. And then once they test them, sometimes the solution doesn't even work or it's not configured properly. So again, most enterprise companies do have backups. Do they actually do it properly is another question. But in this case, it looks like they did it properly because even though they're compromised, again, basically think of the whole environment being poisoned, they basically wiped it out, took that backup and plugged it back in and restore it. Very conceptually speaking. So thankfully, while this business, again, they're at a victimhood of a cyber attack, which again, you can put up as many barriers as you want in terms of technologies and combating it. With enough resource allocation, the bad guys will still get in. So usually I tell people the goal is to try to make it as prohibitive as possible, so it's not worth the bad guy's time. They'll just go somewhere else. That's kind of a common methodology in cybersecurity. And yeah, in this case, I'm not sure what they're doing in that regard for their tech, but interestingly enough, they had the backup, so that's good. Now, Finney also said an update over the weekend, knowing that the company had launched an investigation into their cyber incident with third-party experts and notified law enforcement. Quote, based on the information we have at this time, we anticipate that the process will take several days to complete. In the interim, we're continuing to actively engage with our customers and provide them with alternative ways to conduct business. Unquote. They also say in messages to its customers, the company also warned of, quote, bad actors posing as members or affiliates of CDK to try to obtain system access by contacting customers. He urged them to be cautious of any attempting phishing, which is not the fine kind that you and your dad do at the lake, where you actually have, physically fishing, but this is phishing, phishing, where rudimentarily speaking, you have email impersonations. Let's say, Bob in accounting. Well, you just say you're Bob 1 at accounting, or you take the zero, take the BOB and change it to B0B. You're saying it close enough where at a cursory glance, no one will realize it. They can impersonate him, send the emails off saying, hey, we need to reroute this wire with, one of the biggest common ways that malicious actors will go after companies is, go after the payroll and have the wiring structures altered. Now, they say, quote, this incident bore all the hallmarks of a ransomware attack in which targets are asked to pay ransom to access encrypted files, but CDK declined to comment directly, neither confirming nor denying it. So, looks like how the dealership's reacting. They say several automotive major companies, including Stellantis, Ford, and BMW, confirmed to the Associated Press last week that CDK outage had impacted some of their dealers, but that sales continue. Which, that's literally thousands and thousands of dealerships. And they say, oh yeah, well, we're actually just going to go back to a couple of dealerships are just using pen and paper. Which, again, I kind of joke when I say, it's kind of hard to hack a typewriter, which, I mainly use mine for novelty reasons and, nostalgia because it's my grandpa's. But, yeah, sometimes the age-old pen and paper can't be beat. And it reminds me, actually, when I bought the suit, it wasn't a cybersecurity instance, but it was a Men's Warehouse 10 years ago or so. They had an instance where their internet was out, and upon the IT department, they didn't have a mobile hotspot or a backup. They didn't have a Cradlepoint or anything like that. They could still run business as usual. So they actually busted out the good old-fashioned credit card clickety-click, which I'm sure there's more of an advanced word for that actual process. Think of Home Alone when you had the credit card, you put it in a little plastic machine, and they physically clicked, and you'd actually take the carbon copy. And I'm obviously dating myself, but that was cool and nostalgia at the time. It'll be interesting to see how much of their sales are lost after this. Now, granted, most enterprise sales are locked in with the traditional, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year license agreement. So it'll be interesting. And again, the way they word these contracts, I'm sure there's a carve out or a caveat that says even if there's an outage, you can't, break your contract early. But how many renewals are they going to be losing out on? And again, dealerships are already looking to cut costs because, again, interest rates are, almost 8% for cars these days. People are cutting back their spending. So it's already not great for the automotive industry in general. And again, that's a ripple effect that goes to the suppliers as well as this case being a software supplier. So unfortunately, I think it's going to have and again, I'm not giving financial advice. I'm not saying you should just not invest in the company. I just think it's going to have a significant downturn in their renewals when they do come up. But let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. As always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in. Again, trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you could click that button, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, leaving a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment is a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.